Hello, Mario.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. And you?
Good. What's going on?
Not so much. You like my cup?
Yeah,
I
yeah, I do. You're sending each of us a present?
want.
You're sending all of us a present? Do the Daf?
I don't understand what you said.
I said you can send all of us a present for that. Do the Daf.
Yeah, I got it at the Seder by Gabriela.
What?
I won that at the Seder. You know, Jerry always has questions,
Yeah.
and I hit a few of them, and then he gave me this.
Okay. Very good. What's going on? How's Anna?
All right. All right. Hey, were you walking?
Hello. I am. Switch off the recorder. Tell Anna I
Hello.
enjoyed the cake a lot. Yeah.
You did? It was good, no?
Okay.
Hello.
We just had an alarm.
Okay. Ernie, I heard it's nice and warm at the moment.
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
were on the beach. We were on the beach in Netanya yesterday. There's a kosher restaurant called Hayekev right on the beach, and you wouldn't think it was Pesach. Pizza, bread, rolls this thick. Uh,
Yeah, probably it's all kidneys.
Potato, no, non-kidneyed,
Ah,
non-kid,
that's what they always say.
made out of potato flour.
Okay.
So they, so they
Ernie, look at my picture.
do the daf.
I I got that as a present at the Seder for
I like that.
answering right questions.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Is the recorder back on? I'm Mario.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
I think we're on Pei Aleph,
Yeah.
81.
Yeah.
Yosef Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marta Kamed Rav Nachman. So we're dealing with a hypothetical case where somebody made a tamura of a toda, and then the two animals got mixed up, and one of them died. So you don't know if it's the original toda that died or the tamura that died. The tamura doesn't get lechem. So that's the problem. You don't know whether to bring lechem or not to bring lechem. So they said there's no takana. So various Amoraim have been bringing scenarios that might solve the problem. Let him bring another animal with bread, 40 loaves. If the animal that died was the toda, and this animal that's here is the tmura, well, this new animal, this new animal I'm bringing, I'm donating a toda, and that's its lechem. The kaima toidahi, and if the animal that died was the tmura, and this animal that survived was the toda, halach mavata v'tmura, then these breads that I'm bringing is the breads that go along with this toda, and this other animal will be the tmura. That tmura doesn't need bread, so you can offer both animals. Omer lei oni mari, give me an answer. Arboin bekatve v'kosher. Now, when you make a tmura, you're not allowed to make a tmura. Lo hamir. There's a lav. Don't make a tmura, and you get malchus if you make a tmura. So you're going to lechatchila bring an animal and make it a tmura? So that is not acceptable. Ravila Cholosh. Ravila got sick. Alagabei Abai Rabbanim v'Yosef Kamri. Abai and the Chachamim visited him. And in their visit, they discussed Torah. So someone said, Hi Abe, we're on Pei Aleph. We're trying to solve the solution that if you have a Toda and a Tmura, and one of them died, how can you offer the Toda with its lechem? Because maybe it's a Tmura, and Tmura doesn't get lechem. Im Isa the Rav Yochanan, if Rav Yochanan is correct, the Omar, there was a debate whether the Lachme Toda had to be in the Azora or it could be Chutz Lazora. Rav Yochanan said it could be Chutz Lazora. It could be beyond Beis Pagi. And the Lechem would still be Kodesh. So, based on that, Laisi Lechem, let them bring breads, 40 loaves, Velus vechutz l'chomes Azara, let them place them beyond the Azara, the Lema, Ihach dekai metoidihi, if this animal there were two animals, one of them died. So if this animal that's in front of me is the original Toda, so this is its breads. V'ilo lepuk l'chulin. Now, if the animal that's in front of me is the Tmura, now a Tmura doesn't get lechem, and let the lechem go out and be chulin. Let it not be hegdish in the first place, because you don't really have a Toda to connect it to. So they answered that won't work. Mishum de'ika arba lahani. You have to give 1/10 of the 40 to the kohen as truma, and they waived it. They did tnufa and heichi lavid. How are we going to solve that? Linfiwa broi. The lechem now is outside of Beis Pagi. It's not in the Azara. Should you waive them where they are there? It says Lifnei Hashem ksiv. The waving has to be Lifnei Hashem, inside the Azara. Now, should he bring them inside Gavoy? Kamayel Chulun Azara. You're bringing Chulun to Azara. Hilkach lo yafshar. So again, this does not seem to solve the problem. Okay. Maskif la Rav Shishi Breid Ravidi. Im Isla the Chizkia, the Omar Kachu Arba Mitoch Shmonim, there was also a machlokes that if you brought 80 loaves instead of 40 loaves, would at least 40 of the 80 become Hegdish? Chizkia said yes. So based on Chizkia, Laisi Behema. So again, you had two animals. You had a Toda and a Tmura. And they got mixed up. One of them died. And you don't know if the surviving animal is the Toda or the Tmura. Laisi Behema, you bring another Behema now. V'leisi Shmonim Bahada. And you bring 80 loaves with the other Behema, V'lema. Ihach Dekaima Toidihi. If the surviving animal of the two is the Toda, Hanami to have a Toda, this other animal should be a Toda. So now I'll have two Todas. V'ha Shmonim de Tarvayu. And these 80 loaves will be for the two Todos. 40 for one, 40 for the other. Ihach de Kamaisa Tmurahi. If the animal that died was the Toda, and this surviving animal is the Tmura, then this new animal I brought, Ha-Toida, and of the 80 loaves, V'halachma, V'likdashalo Arboy Mitoch Shmonim, and let the 40 have Kedusha, like according to Chizkiah, that can work, because the Tmur doesn't get Lechem. And the Chora, that seems to solve the problem. So the Gemara says that won't work. Mishum de Kamamoit Bachila Darboy. 40 of the loaves, you can't eat because we don't know whether it is a toda. The other animal is a tamura or a toda. You cannot minimize kodshim to eat, so that doesn't work either. Amar Rav Asher Rav Kahana. Im Isa Rav Yochanan de Omar Ifrish Chatos Meuberes. Person ate chalev and was beshoigig and was required to bring a korban chatos. And the korban chatos turned out to be pregnant. And before they offered it, Yolda, it gave birth. So now you have the original chatos and its child. The halacha kol Rabbi Yochanan is Ratza ba miskaper, Ratza bevlada miskaper. He can choose which one he wants to use, the mother or the child. The other animal is left to graze until it gets a mum, and then you offer it, then it can be redeemed, and it goes out l'chul. Rav Yochanan holds that an uber is lav yerachimo, that an uber, a fetus, is an independent entity within the mother, not that it's like the mother's leg. If you hold the mother's leg, you don't have the choice. You only can do the mother. But if it's an independent entity, then you can do either one. So, based on this concept, Laisi behema muberes. Again, we had two animals, the toda, and he made a tmura of it. A tmura doesn't get lechem. They got mixed up, and one of them died. We don't know if the surviving animal is the toda or the tmura. So, Laisi behema muberes, let him get a pregnant animal and designate it as a toda. The yamtin lo ad shetele, wait until this pregnant toda gives birth. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you can offer either one. Laisi shmonim b'hada v'lema. Let him bring 80 loaves with the pregnant toda and say, if the animal that remained of the pair was the tmura, and the tmura doesn't get lechem, havlada toidahi, v'hashmonim tetarvayu. So basically, he has two toidas. He has the mother and the child. He has 80 loaves, 40 for each. Works. Now, if the remaining animal was the toda, so hanami toidahi, v'hashmonim tetarvayu. So he can say, I have the mother, I have the surviving animal, you have the 80 loaves for it, and I don't want the vlad to be the toda. V'havi lehevi moiser the toida. And then the surviving animal is called a moiser toida. It's like an additional one which doesn't require lechem, and that would work. Omer lei, man leimelon dam Rav Yochanan im shir meshuyir. If does Rav Yochanan say that if a person did not specifically be magdish the vlad, that it stays chulin, maybe dilma yimshir or ain't mishir. Maybe it automatically becomes, you can't make a t'nai on it. The way we suggested making a t'nai. It's automatically a toida. And rather, an animal giving birth, it's like the animal growing. And Rav Yochanan perhaps holds that you have this concept that you can receive atonement through the growth of an animal. And so therefore, that other option doesn't work. Ravina ikla l'dam hoyria. Ravina visited a place called Damhoria. Amalei Rav Dimi b'drei v'huna min Damhoria Ravina. Rav Dimi, who was from Damhoria, said to Ravina, another solution. Laisi behema, let him bring another animal. V'lema harei alai. He says, I'm taking a vow to bring a toda, and this animal is going to be the way I complete my hegdish. V'laisi be'machrisi brings another animal. V'laisi shmonim b'hada, and he brings 80 loaves with it. V'lema. If the surviving pair was the tmura, hani tarti toides. So both of these animals I just brought would be toides. Vashmonim mitarvayu, and I have 80 loaves. That works. However, if the surviving animal that did not die, if this one is the toda, alai, when I said hare alai toda, nami levi toda, only the one that I brought anew should be the toda. And you have the surviving toda and the new toda. The new animal I brought would be like a guarantee that in case, which an achrayas does not require lechem. So I'm able to get away with basically 3 animals and 80 loaves instead of 120. Amar lei. HaTorah Amar Tov Asher Lo Tidor Mishitidor V'Lo Seshali. Pasuk in Mishlei. I'm sorry, Pasuk in Koheles. Better that you don't make a vow than to make a vow and don't pay up. And you're making a vow to bring a toda, and you know in the end you're not gonna bring it. So in the end, the Gemara didn't come up with any solution. Mishnah. However, I like toida. You make a personal vow. You understand the difference. If you point to an animal and you say, Are zu toda, you point to a specific animal and say, Are zu toda, and that animal dies or is lost, I have no responsibility of bringing another animal. That animal is lost, and that's it. If I say Hare alai toda, I create a personal hischayvus to bring a toda, and then I designate an animal, and it dies or gets lost. I have to bring another one because it's a personal hischayvus. It's a chayvus gavra. Hoimer alai toda yavihi v'lachma min achulin. So this has to do with like using tax as if we were going to use post-tax money or pre-tax money. So for example, we have chulin, but then we have the requirement to give 1/10 as Meiser Sheni and come up to Yerushalayim. Now, if you could use Meiser Sheni to fulfill a vow, that's beneficial for you. You're giving 10% anyways. So if you can cover your personal responsibility with Meiser Sheni, you've pocketed your free money, right? 90% of your money that's left after Meiser Sheni is money you can do anything you want with. So if you cannot use Meiser Sheni, if you have to use chulin, you're using 15% of your assets as opposed to 10% of your assets. So the din is, if you said Hare alai toda, the din is you have to bring it, the animal and its lechem from chulin, not from Meiser Sheni. Toda alai min chulin. If he says, I'm going to bring the toda from chulin, v'lachma min meiser, but I'm going to bring the breads from Meiser Sheni. No. Yavihi v'lachma min chulin. Once the toda comes from chulin, the lechem has to come from chulin as well. However, if he specifically states, Toida min meiser, I'm going to bring the Toida from meiser, but v'lachma min chulin, yavihi v'lachma min meiser. The lechem follows the meiser. The lechem follows the Toda. Since I stipulated that the Toda has to come from meiser sheni, the lechem has to come as well. He v'lachma min meiser. If he initially made it t'nai, I'm going to bring the animal and its lechem from meiser. So yavi, he has to bring it from meiser. V'lo yavi mechite meiser sheni. Ela mimos meiser sheni. Interesting din. The bread he has to bring from money of meiser sheni, not from wheat. If he was a farmer in Tel Aviv and he was bringing his wheat up to Yerushalayim's meiser sheni, you can't use that wheat to bake your bread. You got to use money, which you redeemed in Tel Aviv, right? If you had $100 worth of grain, you have to pay $120, 20% tax, and you converted the wheat to $120. That was brought up to Meiser Sheni. That you have to use to buy lechem in Yerushalayim. Complicated halacha, but that's the halacha regarding this business of lechem. On Ravuna. Ha'omer harei alai lachmei toda. He makes a vow that he's going to bring breads for a toda. Now, he didn't say anything about the animal, but maybe toda v'lachma. He has to bring an animal, of course, my time. Maybe yoda ha'gavra delechem below toda lo yikare. You don't offer bread without the animal. Everyone knows that. And when he said, he clearly meant Toda and Lechem. Why did he say Lachme Toida? Sof Milsanokat. He used a shortened language. And he used the sort of the end of the Lashon of Lachme Toda. However, Tnan, we learn from our Mishnah. If a person made a vow, Toidim and Amais for Lachlam Nachulin, Yavi, B'masha Nodar. He brings the animal from the Meiser Sheni and the Lechem from Chulin. V'amai? Kiven Damar Lachlam Nachulin. Once he says Lechem Nachulin, Yavi Hi v'Lachlam Nachulin. Let him bring everything from Chulin. The Gemara says, "Shani Hasam the Kivan Domer Toidim and Meiser." Since he started by saying the Toidim should come from Meiser, Nasika Oimar Harei Alai Lechem Liftor Toidoso Shalplani. It's as if he said, "I'm going to bring the lechem to Pater, my friend, who I know had to bring a toda, and I'm sort of donating his breads." If that's so, Reisha, the beginning part diktani Toidim Nachulin V'Lachman Meiser. We said Yavihi v'lachlam nachulin, since the Toda is controlling, and he said the Toda can come from Chulin. He said you could bring everything from Chulin. Hachanami, Naisa Komer Harei Alai Toda Lifter Lach B'Shul Ploini. Maybe there also you could say that the maybe he brings the Toda from Chulin and not the lechem because he meant the lechem only to pater the friend. The Gemara says Achiyashta. Bishma lechem lemifter toida asi. I understand bringing bread is going to pater someone who donated a toda and has to bring bread. Toida lemifter lechem yasi, but somebody vowed to bring lechem, so you don't. The animal's not going to fulfill that, so that doesn't make sense. Toshma haomer haralai toda. Someone creates an obligation to bring a toda. Below lechem, and I want to bring a korban toda without bread, or zevach, he wants to bring an ola and a shlamim that normally comes with wine, below nesachim. I don't want to bring wine. Beis Din comes into his house like the marshal, and forces him to bring either the bread for the Toda or yayin for the Zevach. Taima de Omar, the reason is because he said Toda, which a complete Toda is animal with bread. Avalo Omar Toda lo. Let's say he said lachme, only the lechem. Maybe then he wouldn't require to bring a Toda. No. Huadin afagav deloy Omar Toda. Even if he didn't say Toda, only said lechem, he would have to bring both. I did a kaboy lemisna zevach blo nesachim. Now, there is no such thing as if someone said, I want to bring a zevach without wine. There is no such thing as bringing wine only. There is no korban wine only. Taranami Toda, he said the same thing, Toda without lechem. But it's just an editorial reason to put it there because of zevach below nesachim. Now, why does Bezdin force him to pay for the lechem and the wine? Neder upischo imohu. Now, every neder, if a person wants to annul his neder, he can go to a chacham, and the chacham will find a pesach, an opening that if you knew this and this and this about your neder, would you have made it? And the person says, no, it's a way to get out of the neder. Well, here is a neder and it's pesach with it. Everyone knows that a Toda has to come with lechem. By saying, I'm bringing a Toda without lechem, that's a pesach to get out of the neder. So let it be a good neder. Omar chizki homani beishamahi. The Amri Tofas Losan Harishon. Machlokes beishamai beisilal. When you say something, whether the first thing you say takes rule or not. So it's not. Hareni Nazir minat groigris or minat vela. Standard Naziris, if I say Hareni Nazir, is I vow not to drink wine for 30 days. And I'm not going to be Matami Lamesim for 30 days. But he made a long neder. He said, I'm going to be a Nazir not to eat figs. So, Beis Shammai Omrim Nazir, he's a regular Nazir, and he must avoid wine and be Matame, Lamesim. Because Tofas Loshen Rishon, the moment they said already Nazir, that's it. Beis Hillel Omrim Eino Nazir. Since he tried to qualify his Naziris, there is no such thing as Naziris from figs. So he's not a Nazir. So perhaps our din is only according to Beis Shammai. No, Rabbi Yochanan Afilu Temen Beis Hillel. Because we're talking about Omer Ilu Ayisi Yoder She'ein Noidrin Kach. If I would have known that you can't make a neder without bread, Lo Ayisi Noider Kach, Ela Kach, I would have made a standard neder. So Umay Koifin, the Koboy Hoderbei. We're talking about a case where he wants to get rid of his neder. Beis Din forces him to make a correct neder, not to pay. Toshma. Person vows to bring a Toda without lechem, or a korban without wine. And they said you can't do that. You got to bring you got to bring the Toda with lechem, or your korban with wine. If I knew that I have to bring wine and breads, I would never have made the neder in the first place. Bezin forces him to make the proper vow because shmor v'shamata, you have to listen to Beis Din and listen to your words. So Bishmal Chizkiya Nichol. So that fits the way Chizkiya was learning that it follows Beis Shammai because he has to Tofas Lashon Rishon. He has to stick with the first words he said. El Rabbi Yochanan, who learned differently, that it's Beis Hillel as well, Kasha. How can you explain it according to Beis Hillel? Rabbi Yochanan. Avada Beishamai. It's clearly Beishamai, not Beis Hillel. You can't explain it anyway. So why then do you need my Shmor v'Shamata? We know that the din is Tafas Lashon Rishon. Amar Abaya Shmor Have Toda v'Shamata Have Lachma. Shmor v'Shamata means bring the animal, bring the breads. Rav Amar Shmor Have Toda v'Lachma. Shmor refers to Toda and its breads. V'Shamata Shlote Rogilas Kei. And Shamata means be careful in the future not to make a neder of Toda without lechem, because that's not the proper way of doing it. Now, the Mishnah said that if a person said, I'm going to bring the Toda and the lechem from Meiser Sheni, he v'lachlo no Meiser Yavi. He brings it that way. For Timor Yavi, lo sagid lo Meisi. Can't he bring it from Chulin? Rav Nachman Rav Chizda Amri, Rotza Mevi. If he gets a choice, like in tax season, if he wants, he can deduct it from his Meister Sheni. Lo Rotza Lo Yavi. If he doesn't want to bring it from his Meister Sheni, he can bring it from Chulin. So he has the choice, is the Gemara's final understanding. By making the neder Meister Sheni, he has the choice to bring it from Meister Sheni, but he doesn't have to. And then the Mishnah said an interesting halacha that when you bring it from Meiser Sheni, you don't bring it from the wheat itself and make the bread. You bring it from the money. Lo yavi mechite Meiser Sheni. Rav Nachman Rav Chizda Damri Tarvayu. Lo yishanu lo mechite Meiser Sheni. Aval mechitin alakuchos b'mos Meiser Sheni yavi. But of course, the original wheat we don't want you to use. But wheat that was bought with money of Meiser Sheni, that of course you can use. So Yosef Rav Yirmiyah Kamed Rav Zera, the Yosef Kamer Lo Yishanu Ela Mechita Meiser Sheni. You can't bring it from the original wheat. Aval mechitin alakuchos b'mos Meiser Sheni yavi. But you can bring it from money. Armale Rebbe Ato Omer Kain, is that what you mean? I say that you can't bring it even from wheat that was bought with Meiser Sheni money. You can't change. That means if he originally bought wheat and he was going to use it for his Meiser Sheni business, then that can't be converted. He's got to buy it originally for the lachme toda. And I will give you my reason, and I'll give you your reason. I'll give you your reason. Toda meche kuyalasle. Where, in fact, do you learn that lachme toda can be bought with Meiser Sheni? Mishlamim. From the law of Shlamim. Because a shlamim is referred to as a toda. So this will continue tomorrow. Now, let's see. Tonight is Sunday night in Los Angeles. For me, it's Monday morning. I would like to teach tomorrow at 8 a.m., which is 6 p.m. for me. That way we don't lose Monday. Okay?
The problem is the minyan is only at 7:30. You can't finish minyan during Pesach.
Okay, how about 9 a.m.? Or how about 8:30 a.m.?
I can, so I'll have to listen to the video.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
What about 8:30?
Yeah,
No, I
don't know what time
things to do
you have.
early.
It's like.
Or you want to do it 9? Or is that too late?
Yes, I can't in the morning.
Yeah, I got to go.
Okay, then we'll wait until Tuesday. Tuesday, I will probably teach like at 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. That's more because I'll be back on Tuesday, God willing.
Yeah.
And it's Erev Yontif.
We'll have to catch up. That's all.
We'll catch up. Okay.
Okay.
Have a good.
Have a safe
I
trip.
don't speak to you. Have a safe trip. Fly safe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Amen.
Okay. Bye.